Hi guys, thanks for checking out this video. One of the most common questions that I get asked as a spoken word poet is, how do you memorize all that? Well, today we're going over just that, my own personal memorization process. And stick around because at the end of this video, I'm going to have one tip that I think can benefit all spoken word poets. So thanks for watching, and please let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks again for checking this out. Now let me offer a disclaimer before I continue. There are no rules when it comes to poetry, spoken word or otherwise. There are no rules, there's no right and wrong, there are just guidelines. So this particular video is going to talk about my own personal memorization process. One of the first things that I tell people when it comes to memorizing poetry is that it has a lot to do with how I write it. I'm going to put this up on the screen so that you can check it out. The poem that I chose to use for this example is called It's Not That Simple, and I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out if you'd like. One of the first things you'll notice upon looking at this poem is that it's broken up into chunks, each separated by these ellipses marks. The reason for that is so that I can make these nice bite-sized chunks, as you can see here and here. Now, if we zoom in a little bit here, you'll notice that every line ends with a punctuation mark. And I do that on purpose so that the chunks that we've already made, I can break those down even further into individual lines. Now, once I've gotten it written out, it's all about rote memory at this point. It's about reading over and over and over and over and over again. And let me put it up on the screen so that you can check it out really quick exactly what I mean. Don't worry, it's not as daunting as it sounds. Now the key here is that I'm going to focus on this line here. I'm going to forget about all of this. I do not need it. I'm going to focus on just this line, repeating it over and over and over again until I have it memorized and can do it with my eyes closed. Then once I've got this one memorized, then I can move on to the next one. And again, forget all about this. I want to focus on this one line, keep repeating it until I get it down, can do it without my eyes closed. And then once I have this line memorized, then I can go ahead and add it to the first line. The key is not to move on to the next line until you have the one before it completely memorized 100%. And again, don't worry about this stuff down here. It's not going to affect you right now. And then once I have the top two memorized, then I can go ahead and start working on the third line, memorizing that. And again, don't worry about any of the stuff below it or above it. Work on memorizing that specific line. Now, once I have the third line, then I can go ahead and add it to the two lines that I've already memorized. Boom, now I have 3 lines already down. Didn't take that long. By this point, you should have the top 2 lines memorized. Do not, and I repeat it, and I'm sounding like a broken record, but do not move on until you have the previous lines memorized. Once you have those 3 lines or those 2 lines, then focus on memorizing them as a whole, one after the other. And just keep repeating those 2 lines or those 3 lines over and over and over again until you have them as their own individual memorized chunk. Hopefully now you can understand what I mean when I say that my own personal memorization process has a lot to do with how I write it. And like I said before, it's not as daunting as it sounds. We're breaking it up into small little digestible chunks. So you go ahead and repeat that and repeat that and repeat that, and you'll get that, you add it on to the next. It's just like anything that we've learned in school. We built a foundation, we built on top of that. Just like with that, as far as memorizing my spoken word poetry, it's building a foundation of those first few lines. Once you get that, then you can start building on top of it. One of the biggest tips that I can offer to spoken word poets is that they should remember poetry in general is a display of mastery of the language. Spoken word poetry is not only the display of mastery of the language, but mastery of the spoken language. That's important to remember because what will set you apart from other spoken word poets is your delivery. That means your tone of voice, your inflection, your dynamics. Everything that you have within you, you need to bring that out. If you've ever taken a communication course or speech course, then you'll know that there is a lot that goes into speaking the language. There's dynamics, there's tone of voice, there's inflection, there's body language, all of these different things. We as spoken word poets, we have to master those things before we go out on that stage. So if there's any tip that I can offer to anyone, it is to remember that poetry is the mastery of the language. Spoken word poetry is a mastery of the spoken language. Think about it, because that means a lot. I hope this was informative. I hope that you were able to learn something and take something away from this video with you. If you were, please let me know what it was in the comments below. If you weren't, please let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it.